What's going on, guys? It's PokePond back with another video for you. We've got lots to talk about today. In today's episode, we've got some new release information about the Glory of Team Rocket set, which is going to become destined rival, the big Team Rocket set that everyone's going to go crazy about. I'm going to talk about my opinions on that. Journey Together, Surging Sparks reprints, Twilight Masquerade available again for retail. We've got Silver Tempest shooting up in price. We're going to break it all down today. Make sure you subscribe down below to never miss an opportunity. Let's get into it. First off today, we're going to talk about Journey Together, because Journey Together comes out on the English side of things on Friday of next week, and there's just so much hype around this set. Me personally, I think it's a good set. Do I think it's a great set? I think it's too early to tell how well it will do long term. I think good sets, they do okay long term. You're going to see growth if you're willing to put it away, maybe keep it in your collection or keep it sealed and tucked away for 2-3 years plus. I think you're going to do well either way. But to pay way over retail for a set, and we don't really know what the market's going to do on it. Yes, there's a lot of demand for it now, but we have no idea how much this is going to get printed. You've got to remember it's going to be printed for the next probably 2 years, so that's lots of waves of reprints. What's the Pokemon market going to look like in 2 years' time when it gets its last print wave? How big is that print wave going to be? These are all questions that we need to ask. Me personally, I'm holding back on Journey Together. I think if you can find any of these newer sets, because we're in such a hype, if you can see anything for retail price or around about retail price in the wild when it gets released, then I think it's a good idea to pick it up for that kind of price. But to pay the prices that it is at the moment, look, we'll just have a look at some of these pre-orders. The chart's gone a bit weird here. But yeah, $253 for a pre-order at the moment on TCG Player for a booster box of Journey Together. I think it's just a little bit risky. Me personally, I'd rather wait at least 6 months, see what happens with the next wave of reprints, and basically I just like to see what goes on in the market in the first 6 months, see what people think of it. You know, we can have a look at what the PSA 10s start going for price wise, what the pull rates are like, because you can kind of see a bigger picture of the set about 6 months in. So me personally, I'm holding fire on Journey Together unless I see something for at or around retail price, but I need to let you guys know that that is coming out next Friday, so something to be aware of. If you have a look here, there's pre-orders selling for $220. That's an import from the UK. The booster bundle is going on pre-order. The booster bundle isn't even out for a little while, and it's going for $100 on pre-order. Oh, that's for 2. Okay, so $50. That's not as bad as I thought. I thought that was $100 for just 6 packs. That's kind of crazy. But here's another one. Look, a lot of international arbitrage, which we've been talking about recently. UK people selling on US eBay because sometimes we can get products cheaper than you guys. That's why this channel is so unique, because I compare both markets, both the EU, UK market and the US market, to give a real good picture of what's going on worldwide, because it can really help nail down what's about to happen in individual markets. Sometimes if we see things happen in the UK, then they'll be mirrored in the US a little bit later, and vice versa. Sometimes you'll go out of stock of something first, and then that's a signal for us to buy because the price is starting to shoot up, so on and so forth. But $235 here, $245 for a pre-order on a booster box. Kind of crazy times right now. In the UK it's similar, £177. That's not as bad for a pre-order, considering retail is going to be what, like 140ish. It's still kind of crazy to pay way over retail for a release. I mean, talk about 12 months ago, probably even 6 months ago as well, like new releases on Scarlet and Violet, distributors and big box online stores and all of these other like secondary markets were just selling them way below retail. We were picking up booster boxes on pre-release, so like pre-order, for like 10%, 20%. Some of them were like 30% below retail. I remember picking up what are some of the sets we picked up for below retail. We got Twilight Masquerade for below retail because no one knew it was going to be as popular as it was when it came out. I saw them for like 20-25% below retail on pre-order. Paldea Evolved was cheap. Paradox Rift was cheap. Temporal Forces were all cheap. You know, you could get them well below 20% below retail. That's almost like distro prices. That's kind of crazy. And now we're paying way over the odds. I mean, what is 245? What's retail? Like 160? So 245 minus 160. I'm just doing rough numbers here. So 85 divided by 160. I think it's actually like 165. But yeah, basically 50% over retail. That's kind of crazy for a new set. So just be cautious if you're putting it away as an investment. I would just hold fire on Journey Together. I think there'll be plenty of opportunities to buy in for a cheaper rate. Let's have a look then at another bit of news. So the overly hyped and anticipated Journey Together set, they revealed some of the cards of that. Sorry about this website. PokeBeach is kind of going crazy with its adverts at the moment, so we'll only stay on here for a moment. But we can see the first art rare that's been revealed. This isn't a SIR or an SAR yet. We haven't seen any of those, but we can see the first few cards, and this is the first art rare card that we can see, which is a Meowth, and it looks like an awesome card. People are going to go bananas for this Team Rocket set. They're going to go absolutely crazy for it. Whether it's good or bad, we're going to see these prices. If Journey Together is pre-ordering for $245, Team Rocket, who knows? Could be $300 a booster box on pre-order. I wouldn't even be surprised. I think, like I said, even if the set's not that great, and I think it will be a great set, I think it'll be one of the best Scarlet and Violet sets, but it's just going to be so iconic that it's going to do well, and people are going to FOMO into it. So I don't know what my plan with Team Rocket's going to be like yet, but I've got time to think about it. It's not going to be out for a good while yet, at least another month, I would imagine, especially where Journey Together's coming out next week. So yeah, plenty of time to have a look at Team Rocket, but we can see the Meowth already. We can see a few other cards, just like generic cards. Here's like another Meowth card, obviously with like the Giovanni trainer thing. This is going to be so cool. If they do this sort of trainer Pokemon style again for like all of the later sets of Scarlet and Violet, these later sets could be really good. The Mewtwo EX Giovanni's one, super nice as well. That's kind of all we've seen, and then the rest is just a bit mid, like an EX Persian, and we can see a few other cards, nothing super major. I can't wait until we can start to see what some of the SIRs and stuff like that are like. I think Team Rocket's going to go crazy, and that's why you've got to be super careful with Journey Together and Surging Sparks, because as soon as Team Rocket comes out, all the attention's going to go on to that. Let's have a look at Pokemon Center and stock levels then. Same as last week for the US, not a single product in stock. Look, normally you have a little button down here that you can toggle to say in stock. Nope, this is the booster pack section. I've put no more filters on. Booster pack section, US Pokemon Center. Every single product sold out. Every single little thing that might have a booster pack in is gone. Even these little portfolios, these little mini portfolios that come with one booster pack, all sold out. Everything absolutely crazy. And I'll tell you what, it's going to take Pokemon Center a while to catch up with the demand. It will happen eventually. At the moment, you've got hype at this level, supply at this level. So you've got demand massively outweighing supply, so everything just gets bought out instantly and then upsold for more profit. At some point over the next 6 to 12 months, Pokemon Center will finally start pushing out more products, and it just depends where the demand is at that time. If the demand is much lower, then we could see fire sale on some products. We could see things like Surging Sparks, Journey Together dropping down to retail, below retail. It's definitely possible. So I would be really cautious at buying into some of those sets like Journey Together and Surging Sparks for the kind of prices that they're at the moment, because there's a good chance they'll get printed into the ground. It won't be for a while. It might take them a year to get round to really pumping out those kind of numbers, because it takes time to organise that kind of thing. But it is 100% possible. Let's have a look at the UK then. UK, we got more stock on stuff. Paradox Rift, Temporal Forces, that's been the same for the last couple of weeks. Temporal Forces is a pretty good buy out of all of them. But very interestingly, Twilight Masquerade is back in stock. Not a bad cop for that price, because secondary market is more expensive than retail at the moment for Twilight Masquerade. They're going for about 150, 160 here in the UK for Twilight Masquerade. So the fact that it's for retail now on the Pokemon Center, kind of big that we're getting another opportunity. That should bring down prices on the secondary market over the next couple of weeks. And who knows, maybe we'll pick some up for sub-retail again. That'd be brilliant. I'm a big supporter of Twilight Masquerade. Great to see it back in stock for retail. I hope the same happens in the US, and I really don't think that it's going to last that long, that the prices will drop back down to around about retail. I don't think it will last for long. I think it will get eaten up. And yeah, just really positive to see that for retail. More opportunities to buy in at a decent price on one of my favourite sets of Scarlet and Violet. There's a few other miscellaneous products available as well. Shrouded Fable booster bundles, Temporal Forces booster bundles, and some loose booster packs and whatnot, some trick or trade stuff, but I wouldn't recommend investing into that kind of thing. Might do well like super long term, but it's just a bit too niche, to be honest. Yeah, so some loose booster packs and stuff like that. Really positive to see Twilight Masquerade back in stock though here in the UK. I can't wait to see some more affordable prices on the secondary market for that, so that we can increase our position. Let's have a talk about Prismatic Evolutions then. Sorry, I'm going 100 miles an hour today because we want to get through all of these tabs nice and quick for you. I've been making a lot of like 30-minute, 40-minute videos recently. We need to stop rambling and just get through it, get to the meat of the episode. So, Prismatic Evolutions, nearly at an all-time high again on the Elite Trainer box, which is kind of crazy. It is a really good set. $141, $142, $144 last sold on TCG Player. Its all-time high is $149. So we're talking what, $8 if that off of its all-time high. What's going to happen to it going forward? I don't know. Personally, I'm thinking more and more now that with the Elite Trainer boxes, they're just never going to be able to print enough to meet the demand. Like, Crown Zenith was printed into the ground and it's still performing really well. I think Prismatic Evolutions might be one of those kind of sets. $124 last sold, $123 on an auction on eBay US for last sold. Pretty interesting. In the UK, £100, £100, £100. Like, I've got two behind me. I was lucky enough to pick them up on pre-order for retail. They were £50 each. I did say to myself, if these hit like 120 anytime soon, look, here's one that sold for 125 plus postage. Kind of crazy. If they start regularly selling for like 120, I think I've got to sell the ones behind me. Like, I know it's going to be seen as scalping and stuff, but I'm just going to trade it into other products. It's not like I'm there taking profit to just take money out of the hobby. I'd literally just buy other Pokemon products. We're just redistributing around collectors. Like, if someone would rather have this, once they hit 120, I think I'd rather just have Crown Zenith. So I'd just trade it into Crown Zenith probably. I probably wouldn't even sell it. I'd just straight trade it with someone. So, I mean, I paid like 50 retail. So what are they now? Like 120. So 120 divided by 50. I just want to see what the gain would be on 120. I messed up that math. Sorry. 50 is 70 profit. 70 divided by 50. Sorry, all over the place. 140% profit if I sold them at 120. Like, I kind of can't not do that. But like I said, I'd much rather just trade them into Crown Zenith, because I think Crown Zenith is going to do really well. Speaking of which, every time I look, it's just at an all-time high. Just continuing to creep up in price, Crown Zenith. I don't think Crown Zenith is going to get printed again. It's just a safer bet to me than Prismatic Evolutions. I really like Prismatic Evolutions, but with Crown Zenith, it's like, I just don't think it's ever going to get reprinted again. So I think it's just going to continue to creep up. Last sold 127, 127, 127. Similar to last week. It's only crept up about 1%, 2% in the last week. But look at this. Over the last 3 months, we're up 76% now. We're really starting to move. And I'm telling you guys, you haven't seen nothing yet on Crown Zenith. I think it's going to very quickly jump up to 200 a box. And then sky's the limit, 200, and then once it breaks 200, it'll slowly be 230, 240, 250. I think it's just going to keep creeping. I think it's going to be one of the best performing elite trainer boxes of modern times. I think when we look back on it in 2 years' time, it's going to break most of the records for the elite trainer boxes. Who knows? Prismatic may be in that spot as well. Not Evolutions. Evolving Skies might be in that top spot as well. It's kind of, I think the three of them are all going to be pretty even. 151 as well. 151, wow, that's really creeping up as an elite trainer box. Now that I say it, there's quite a few elite trainer boxes I think are going to do really well. But I'm really backing Crown Zenith, and I really like Crown Zenith now. Like, I might like 151 and Prismatic a little bit more when they come to their 2-year out of print window. But just because Crown Zenith has already hit that, I just feel so much safer having my money in it. So I'm just stacking up Crown Zenith at the moment. Last sold in the US, 127 on an auction. Look at this one. Someone picked one up sub $100, $94 all in. That's a good deal, considering that on that same day, someone paid nearly 130 on an auction. That's nearly a 30% difference on the same day. So there are deals to be had at the moment on these things, because not everyone's on that same mindset yet that Crown Zenith is going to the moon. Some people are still, like, some people struggle to adjust their price targets. They're like, oh yeah, but I saw it for 80 2 months ago or 3 months ago. So, you know, I'm uncomfortable paying 130 for it now. You need to stop that mindset. When something's out of print and it's climbed up and you're getting multiple sales at 120, 120, 125, 120, 120, that's the new price. You need to adjust your mindset, otherwise you get left behind. You get left behind thinking, oh, I'm only going to buy Crown Zenith when it's $80. I'm sorry, Crown Zenith is never going to be $80 again. That boat has sailed. In the UK, last sold on an auction, 203 with £5 postage. So that's pretty cheap. That's cheaper than what I bought those two for behind me. So like I said, there's deals to be had out in the market. Look, 126. Now that's more than what I paid for behind them. I think I averaged about 114 for the ones behind me. So nice to see like 126. I haven't even had them that long. 115 here, 125. I love these as well. I really want to buy one of these just as a collection piece. I've got to pull the trigger at some point. I love the Elite Trainer Box Plus. I think it's so nice. Like, at the end of the day, I might just treat myself. Like, I'm a collector at heart as well. I'm not just a sealed investor. I'm also sort of 50-50 a collector. I think I need to pull the trigger on one of these before they get any more expensive. Again, it's not an investment piece. It's purely, well, actually, do I think it will go up in value? Yes, I do. But I just want it in my collection. It would look so good behind me, wouldn't it, on one of those shelves? I think I've got to pull the trigger at some point, otherwise I'm going to regret it. So we were talking a little bit about Surging Sparks. Surging Sparks is starting to see a decline in price now. Obviously, with all that talk about Surging Sparks going to get a reprint, we did call it happening. I made a pretty interesting video last week on Surging Sparks and about some of the ultra modern that I think that they're going to crash in price. If you haven't watched that video, make sure you go take a look. I think it's quite important for people to look at, especially if you've only been investing in the last year, 2 years, something like that. You haven't seen a full Pokemon life cycle. The market goes in cycles, and at some point all of these are going to come down. We kind of called it last week, and now we're starting to see that a decline in Surging Sparks. I think these are going to get quite heavily printed, and we're going to see these drop down quite a lot, like quite viciously over the next 6 to 8 months. So please be cautious with Surging Sparks. Last sold in the US on an auction, $237. Kind of crazy. I mean, if you're buying it to open, cool. If you're buying it for your rip and ship business and you know you can rip it open and make a profit, cool. But if you're just buying it for an investment point of view to keep sealed, 237 is crazy. I think you'll be able to get it for cheaper than that if you just hold out a little bit. Cheapest you can buy in the UK right now, it says 120 here, last sold, but that looks so dodgy. The photo's like really weirdly cropped as well. Like, that box doesn't look right, and the guy's feedback is like 50%. So I wouldn't believe that. That looks like a scam. Best offer accepted 193. Let's look at some more sales data. The half booster box, which is an EU exclusive, 18 packs, going for 90, which doubles up to what, 260 to 265, something like that. 195, that's more like it. 195, 193, that's about where the market is, just under 200. I would hold out though, personally, if you're going to invest in it. I think you're pretty soon going to see these go for about 180, maybe lower. I think maybe the basement's going to be about 170, 175, which is, you know, still a little bit over retail, but I think we're going to see a bit of a vicious drop. Twilight Masquerade then, again, I think people are just dumping a bit because they're worried about reprints. Has reduced in price a little bit. Last week it was around about 221. Now it's going for like 213. So it's dropped about $8 or something like that. $8 is what, about 3%, 3 to 4% drop over the last week. I think we're going to see a bit of a drop in Twilight Masquerade. Obviously, with the reprints coming, 214 last sold on US eBay. On the UK, 156. 2 half booster boxes for 140. So 156, but it's in stock on Pokemon Center for 140 something. 142 is it? Let's have a look. 143.64. So at the moment, like I said, Pokemon Center is the cheapest. It's caught the secondary market off guard because we weren't expecting a restock right now. I mean, we knew reprints were coming, but we didn't expect it this week. So the cheapest to buy it right now is direct from the source for 143. Really nice. And I think that's going to push down some of these prices in the UK as well, as you can get it a little bit cheaper. There's an import here from Italy for 119. I personally wouldn't do that. There you go, 135. Look, a sub retail in the wild, sold yesterday. Deals to be had out there, guys. More opportunities to buy into Twilight Masquerade. I think even if you buy a little bit over retail, even if you pay like 150 for it, put it away for 2 years. I still think you're going to do well. You're so close to retail that it doesn't matter. I don't think you can lose on it. Let's have a look at Paldea Evolved then, because Paldea Evolved is one of the other sets that they announced is going to get a bit of a reprint. Still chilling at a really decent rate. Obviously, we saw the big spike in Paldea Evolved start at basically like the end of December, and Paldea Evolved is nearly out of print. Like, yes, they've said it's going to get reprinted now, but I don't think it's going to be enough to like knock it off of its throne. It's already climbed to a really healthy $220. And I don't think there's going to be many more reprints. This could be the last reprint. It's at like 216, 224, floating around that kind of $220 mark, give or take a few dollars either way. And I just think it's going to do really well. I don't think they're going to print much of it. I think we're going to see it be available for retail in Pokemon Center, and it's just going to get bought straight out. And very quickly, the secondary market is just going to rebound back to around about this $220 mark. And then over the next year, it's just going to continue to climb. I've been buying some booster boxes of Paldea Evolved. I paid quite a decent amount. I was paying about £180. The secondary market's dropped a little bit from that over the last few days. Let's have a look. Last sales, $250, $230 in the US. Here in the UK, last sold 177. So the one I bought a couple of weeks ago, I paid more for this. I paid a little bit. I paid like peak of the market, but I just believe in it. I don't think it's going to really drop down in price that much. I'm really not bothered by the reprints. If I can see it for a little bit cheaper, then I'll increase my position. But I don't think it'll be long until we're right back at around those all-time highs. It's only dropped like £3, £4 from its all-time high. I'm still happy to buy in at this price point. I think Paldea Evolved is a good set and it's performing well. Talking about crazy Elite Trainer boxes, 151 Elite Trainer box is doing bits at the moment. Look, steady growth, 54% increase in price over the last 3 months. I'm starting to think more and more they're just not going to reprint 151 Elite Trainer boxes. And again, even if they do, I don't think it's really going to affect the price that much. Every time I check, they're going for more and more money. So most, like average of the most recent solds is around about 210, there's 26, 200, 195, but last sold 224. I think that people that have them as well probably won't be selling them that much. And I think that we're very quickly going to get to a point with 151 Elite Trainer boxes where the demand just heavily outweighs the supply. I mean, pack to cost ratio is kind of getting a bit crazy right now for a basically ultra modern Elite Trainer box that's not necessarily out of print yet. So last sold $200 in the US. Let's just break that down. There's one here as well for $220. So we'll take an average between the last two sold here. So we'll go for $210. So $210 divided by 9 packs in there. We're already at $23.30 for pack to cost ratio. That's kind of crazy for a set that's not really out of print yet. And it just speaks volumes as to like how successful it's probably going to be over the next couple of years. I think 151 is a good play. I hold very little 151. I've got booster bundles. I've got a couple of booster bundles that I bought for retail on release. That has proven to be a very good investment because I paid £25 for them each. And now they're worth a lot more than that. They're worth about 3 times that now. But I'm just going to hold on to them for a while because I don't really need the money. And I think 151 is going to continue to climb. Booster bundles are more likely to get reprinted though. Yeah, £174 last sold in the UK. Kind of crazy. Let's have a look at the other like main sets from Sword and Shield then. We always talk about Sword and Shield and keep an eye on it every week just because the channel's been going for quite a long time. I've got quite a big position in Sword and Shield and I've recommended over the last year that a lot of people buy into Sword and Shield. I still think that that's the case. So we make sure that we keep up to date on prices and let you guys know the prices each week of what's going on. Sword and Shield is at a weird place right now where the cheaper sets are really starting to catch up and starting to boom, which is great. They're starting to blossom. And the sets that really started to pull ahead, like Evolving Skies, Fusion Strike, Astral Radiance, are just cooling off over the last month or so. Again, nothing to be worried about. It's just healthy. It's just demand has met supply because everyone's so hyped at like Prismatic Evolutions and Journey Together and stuff like that. It just means that there's less focus on Sword and Shield right now. That doesn't mean it's not a bad investment. I think that these will all have a very good year going forward, and I would always recommend investing into Sword and Shield because it's out of print now. I think it's one of the best eras of Pokemon, and I think it's just going to continue to gain up in price. So Evolving Skies has had a pretty chill week, similar to last week. We're chilling at around about $1,300. That's kind of average for it. $1,307 last sale. There are 2 boxes for $1,307, which is healthy. $1,305 if we have a look at eBay markets as well. Chilling just over the $1,000 mark. $1,050, $1,050, and then you've got this one here as well, back to $1,200. Pretty healthy. I think that it's going to have a really good year, and I think that Evolving Skies is really going to start creeping up on people. And as soon as it starts to make a bit of traction and move again, it starts to hit those all-time highs of around $1,400, $1,500, which I don't think it'll take long to get there. People will remember Evolving Skies and be like, oh yeah, Evolving Skies is booming again, and everyone will FOMO back into it. And that's when we're going to see it really push up and pump up in price for probably about a 6 to 7 month window. And that's when it's really going to punch through the 2K mark. That's my prediction. But I think that's going to play out over about a 12-month period. Let's have a look at cheapest in the UK right now then. You can sometimes get a deal and pick one up for sub £1,000. You can see some selling here for $1,050. I've got a couple left in my collection. I've got 2 left at the moment, and I'm in 2 minds what to do with them. I did say that I would sell one when they're regularly over $1,000 or regularly over £1,000, which they are at the moment. But now it's got to that point, I'm like, nah, I'll just hold it. That's not my price point. And it's good to have that mentality when you're an investor, that you kind of have in the back of your mind what you'd be happy selling something for. Otherwise, you'll just never sell and you'll just collect and collect and collect, and you'd be piled up with boxes, which doesn't sound like a terrible thing, but it kind of is. Like, you need to have in your head what your price points are. And in my head, I was like, when it's £1,000, I'll sell another one of my boxes. And it's okay to readjust and to move your goalposts, because now I'm at that point. I'm like, nah, we're going to wait and see what it does, because at the moment, like I said on the charts, we're just chilling. at this point. And I think that that's a really healthy indicator that that's the floor of the market now. So I think it's just going to continue to grow. Maybe I'll feel differently when it hits to, maybe I'll reevaluate when it gets to, I don't know, £1,600, which is over an all-time high. But then I might hold out to £1,800 or 2K. Do you see what I mean? I think 2K is going to be a very difficult mark for it to get through. I think that it definitely will over time. Over a couple of years, it will go over $2,000 or £2,000, but it's a very hard psychological barrier for it to get through. I think once it gets to the £2,000, $2,000 mark, it's going to sit there for a few months. So I think at that point I'll really evaluate perhaps selling both of them, to be honest, and reinvesting into something else, pick up some cases of modern in its place maybe. Let's have a look at Fusion Strike then. Fusion Strike is nearly at its all-time high. Again, it's just chilling around its all-time high. 490 was its all-time high average on TCG Player. Last sales for 478, 479, 480, 492. Last week we saw the week before we saw the first ever $500 sale on eBay for Fusion Strike. You can see it here for 450 last sold. Scroll down, 450. Best offer, 460, and here we go. So here's another one right on the door, 5 cents off of $500, and that was sold yesterday. So $500 is an all-time high for it. So Fusion Strike chilling at an all-time high. I think it's just going to continue to have a monster year. It's had a great last 6 months, and I think it's just going to continue to climb. What's it done over the last 6 months? 15% increase, but over the last year, nah, that chart's looking crazy. I don't think that's accurate. Anyway, Fusion Strike at a psychological barrier of $500. I think it's going to punch through it quite easily. One of my favourite sets in Scarlet and Violet as well. In Sword and Shield. In the UK, last sold, you got the halves going for 141, and the full booster boxes last sold on an auction for 311. I think that's super cheap. Best offer accepted below 350. Look at this, 314 for a nice minty one. Just looks really cheap to me, especially when the US one is knocking on the door of $500. I think that is a very good buy. Astral Radiance, again, another set that I think is massively undervalued. Last sold 273, 278, 275, 275. Looking pretty healthy, and look, just continuing to creep up in price. Even when the rest of Sword and Shield is just chilling and not really moving, Astral Radiance just continues to climb. Last sold in the US, $230. Right, $230 for an out of print Astral Radiance, and then we look at Surging Sparks that could get printed into the ground, going for $250. So for $20 less than Surging Sparks right now, which is almost definitely going to crash in price, you could get yourself an out-of-print Astral Radiance. And what's nice about people not looking at these markets... Oh, that's a damaged one, actually. Okay, beg your pardon, didn't read that. 230 is damaged. Okay, here's a proper one. Okay, 270. Still, though, 270 for out-of-print Astral Radiance, I think, is a very good price. And in the UK, it's just mad cheap right now. I was shouting at people on the channel to buy these. You could buy these 6 months ago for sub-retail. We were seeing them going for like £120. Now they're $220 6 months later. And I think they're just going to continue to climb. I don't see a world where Astral Radiance doesn't just like pump up to like, I don't know, £400, $450. I think it's going to get there fairly soon. Over the next year, I think. I actually didn't load up Lost Origin in my tabs. We'll have a look at Lost Origin after this one then. Silver Tempest is, again, climbing. Silver Tempest is really coming into its own and really starting to boost up in price. Do not underestimate the Lugia in Silver Tempest. It was one of the last Sword and Shield sets to go out of print, which is why we only saw it really starting to pump up in price towards the end of this year. You could see it, you could get it for $190 back at the end of December, and now it's starting to climb up in price. Let's have a look at how much it's moved then this last week. It has gone from around about 264 average to 265, 270, 270. So it's gone up about $5. It's gone up about 2-3%. But look, it's just steady growth, and it's steady growth when the market's looking at something else. You wait till the market starts looking at Sword and Shield again. You're going to see all of these Sword and Shield sets really start to pump up in price. People will start FOMOing into them. You can still get deals on them. $240 for a minty one last sold in the US. It does say read description though, so maybe it's got a tear. Look, here's another one, 240. One going for 298. So the difference in price, these are sold both yesterday as well. So look at the deals you can get. Both buy it nows, same day, nearly a $60 difference in price. Deals to be had if you keep an eye on the market, particularly keep an eye on what no one else is looking at right now. And you might say, oh yeah, but there's lots of Pokemon YouTubers that are talking about Silver Tempest, right? You need to understand that we are such a minority. Yes, we're a little community. We all watch these videos. If you're watching my videos, you're part of a very, very small part of the community that's paying attention to what's going on with prices in Silver Tempest. Believe me, the majority of the market, 99.5% of the Pokemon market, has no idea what's going on with Silver Tempest prices. They have no idea that it's shot up in price over the last month or so. What's it done in the last month? 12% increase. That's not bad, you know. That's a decent profit. Let's have a look then at... we wanted to look at Lost Origin, didn't we? Because I didn't actually load up Lost Origin. How did I do my boy dirty like that? Let's have a look. Lost Origin booster box. Okay, so pretty chill week. Maybe a bit of an increase in price. So last week it was around about 393. Last sold, so let's filter this out to not show those with photos. Last sold 399, so it's at that $400 mark. 390, 397, and look, it's at an all-time high, because look, average price back here in January, highest you can get it to is 388. So we're at just chilling on an all-time high for a couple of weeks. I think Lost Origin is going to do really well going forward. So that's what's going on with Lost Origin. We'll just finish off the last couple of sets, main sets from Sword and Shield. Brilliant Stars, again, chilling at an all-time high. Its all-time high was around about 290. Now it's at like 297. Last sales, 292, 295, 292, 294. Again, starting to blossom. Little bit like Silver Tempest. They're just going to struggle to break through this $300 mark. I've talked about this in a few of my recent videos. Silver Tempest and Brilliant Stars are both going to have that issue. Silver Tempest is not quite there yet. Brilliant Stars is right on that mark. Silver Tempest will catch up Brilliant Stars, and they're both going to hover at around about $300 for a little while, just because it takes a while to break through these big numbers, these big round numbers for $300. People will just accept that as the price, and then as time goes on a little bit and you have multiple weeks of people paying $300 and that's the accepted price, then when there's not the demand, people start paying more. People start paying $310, $320, $330, and then we've broken through. Once Brilliant Stars and Silver Tempest break that $300 mark and start selling more regularly for $310, $320, I think they're really going to start creeping up in price. Chillin' Rain is chilling. Chillin' Rain has had a pretty flat week. It's around about $320 mark. Last sale, $320, $320, $310. I think that's pretty cheap as well, considering how nice of a set it is. I don't see a world where Chillin' Rain in 2 years' time isn't $500 plus a box. Could even be way more than that. So I think Chillin' Rain is just one of those ones that you buy in now and you just sit on it. It's not one that you're going to turn a massive profit in over the next 3 months, but over the next 2 years, I think it's going to perform really well. Let's do something fun for the last part of the video. Sometimes I like to just pick out like a random set that we don't really look at. I want to talk about XY evolutions. So I very rarely talk about sets from the XY era. I tend to focus the channel and the investment side of things on the the start of Sword and Shield onwards. Now, to me, XY Evolutions is included in Ultra Modern. In my opinion, XY Evolutions is the start of the Ultra Modern period. And you might say, yeah, but it's at the end of one block and then the next block starts. Yeah, but XY Evolutions is special. And the reason why XY Evolutions is special, because XY Evolutions came out when Pokemon Go came out. And it brought so many people back to the hobby. I was already still part of the hobby. However, XY Evolutions, when it came out and I saw Pokemon Go explode, that's when I started my investment journey, when XY Evolutions came out. And part of my journey into learning to invest was to go around anywhere and everywhere and start to just learn where you can buy packs, what all the different prices were. And I remember, I'll tell you guys a little story. So I remember when XY Evolutions came out, I would go into different shops and I found like a phone repair shop that was near my house. It's long been closed now. Didn't survive well. But it had XY Evolutions packs on the counter, like a booster box like that was just open and there were packs there. And I went and asked them how much their packs of XY Evolutions were. Now, bear in mind, the set had been out for, I don't know, a month or so. It was widely available because it was a really heavily printed set at the time, even though it was popular. And they wanted £6.50, which is, I'm guessing, I don't know, like $8, $9, probably about $8 for a loose booster pack. And that was back then as well. A lot of inflation has happened back then. And I thought that was an extortionate price. Retail for it was like £3 something. So they were charging almost double retail, over double retail, for a booster pack of Evolutions. And I remember thinking to myself in my head, I will never pay that price for an Evolutions booster box. They are scalpers. It is terrible that they are charging £6 for an Evolutions booster pack. Now, fast forward. What are Evolution booster packs going for? $41.99 last sold. If I could go back and have a magic ball, I would have bought every single one they had. I really would have. And it's important to learn lessons. I've made a lot of mistakes over the years, over the many years that I've been investing in Pokemon. And it's okay. It's okay to make these mistakes. I've made some terrible plays and I've made some great plays. But do you know what? The terrible plays taught me something. And it's so great to like look back now and just laugh at this kind of thing. The fact that my mindset at the time was so set on the fact that £7 is such a scalper price to buy Evolutions. And now they're going for $41.99. Now, I'm sorry. $41.99 is a crazy price to pay today. That is way more than you should be paying. But it's sold. $41.99. You can go and look at US last sold 21st of March. That was yesterday. So people do pay it. It's just kind of crazy to me. I just thought that would be an interesting thing to talk about at the end of the video. With time comes success with investing. Sometimes you just got to sit on products and be willing to sit on products for a little while. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you subscribe down below to never miss an opportunity. Have a wonderful day and peace.